Hello my dear ones. Today I am here with an adventurous story. Do you like adventures? Yes, I know. Okay, so here today I am with a story of Sinbad in the Valley of Diamonds. Have you heard of Sinbad's story? Yes or no? Okay, no problem. Sinbad the Traveler is a story which is taken from Arabian Nights. Arabian Nights is a collection. Sinbad the Sailor is a famous story taken from the book Arabian Nights. Okay, and Sinbad is a person who lives in the city of Baghdad and he loves going on adventures to distant lands. During one voyage, he happens to be caught in a deserted island, which is a home to huge and strange bird called the rock. Okay, so we are going to see what happened to Sinbad. So regarding Arabian Nights, have you heard of the book Arabian Nights? It's a wonderful collection of stories, and you know most of the stories in that, like Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, the Magic Carpet, then Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. All these stories come in this collection of books, the Arabian Nights. Okay, so it's a wonderful book with lot of stories for children. Okay, so let's come back to Sinbad. So which is the place, which place Sinbad lives? He lives in Baghdad, and he is an adventurous man who loved adventures. You know, in olden days it was not easy to travel in a ship. It was not advanced like that, like the ships that we have today. Okay, and if the storm or something happens, there were no mobile phones or no connection with the land. Maybe years they will be in sea without any contact with the land. So it was not an easy job to travel in a ship. But this man Sinbad, he loved traveling and he loved adventures. So let's see what happened to Sinbad in one of the journey. Not all the journeys, in only one portion we are dealing with the Sinbad story. One portion only we are here seeing in this, that is in the Valley of Diamonds. Let's see what happened. So page number 93 of your magic place. Sinbad the Sailor lives in the city of Baghdad in the land of Persia. So where is Baghdad? Baghdad is in Persia. He loves going on adventures to distant places. So he loves to go for adventures to distant lands. Sometimes he gets caught in dangerous situations, but he always uses his intelligence to escape. So Sinbad was an intelligent person. Okay, and during one voyage he lands on a desert island which is home to a strange bird called rock. Sinbad tries to escape from the land by tying himself to the leg of the bird using his turban cloth. Now we will see what happens. So he happened to be in a deserted island where nobody else lives but the rock. So he started hiding from rock, and he found out that the rock is a very huge bird, and it can even carry an elephant in its leg. Such a huge bird it is. So he understood that the only way he can escape from this place is to tie himself to the leg of this rock, and when the bird flies, it can carry him also to any other island. So that was what he did, and he didn't have any rope or anything. After shipwreck, he landed in this deserted island. He only had his turban in his head, so he took the turban out and made it like a rock, and when the rock comes to the nest, while it was sleeping, he tied himself with that rock to the leg of the rock without the bird noticing it. Okay, so the next morning when the bird started flying, it carried him also along with that. And what happened next is very interesting adventure. It's a very interesting adventure. We will see what happens after that. The rock was carrying me away over land and sea. Soon we were zooming down at great speed as the sun was setting in the distance. So what happened? The rock was carrying me away. So it was carrying Sinbad. See how this big bird, the huge bird, is carrying Sinbad in its leg when it is flying. Okay, so it was carrying, it was zooming down. Means what? Zooming down means going to, when a bird is going to land or even a plane, it will be zooming, not, it will take a zoom and then only. The way in which a flight or a bird lands to the ground. So it was zooming down at great speed as the sun was setting. The sun was setting and the bird was landing in some other place. Thud! We hit the ground. I saw an enormous snake nearby. Quickly, I untied myself from the rock's leg. Not a moment too soon, the rock pounced on the snake and flew away with it. So, everything happened in a nook of the second. That is, when the rock touched the ground, he understood that the rock had landed in some other place. Thud. With a sound, it landed on a ground, on another island. So the first thing that Sinbad noticed was an enormous snake. Enormous means a very big snake. And quickly he untied himself from the rock's leg. Otherwise rock would again carry him. So he himself untied the turban and set himself free from the rock's leg. And within that second, not a moment too soon, the bird, what did the bird do? The rock, he pounced on the snake. Pounce means he carried the snake. He took the snake in its leg and fly away with it. So the rock had brought me to a deep, dark and narrow valley. The ground was so full of stones that it was hard to walk. All around, on all sides were high mountains. They were steep, rocky and impossible to climb. I kicked some of the stones out of my way to make it easier to walk. I saw a sparkle here, a dazzle there. I looked more closely. There were diamonds all over the ground. So he landed up in a strange place. So where did the rock carry him? Rock carried him to a deep, dark and narrow valley. The ground was full of stones. Sinbad was not able to walk through that stones because the sun was setting. He was not able to see what is there. But he understood it's full of stones. So, and he looked around, he saw it was covered with mountains. The place was covered with many mountains, high mountains. They were steep and rocky and it was impossible to climb also. So, he kicked some of the stones away to make a way for him to move. Suddenly, he saw a dazzle here and a sparkle there. Then he understood that he is in the middle of diamonds. That was not stones, simple stones. They were precious stones. They were all diamonds. Okay. And he was first very happy to see that it is full of diamonds. Just then I heard a terrible hissing. Not far away, some enormous snakes were slithering out of a big cave. The smallest of the cold-blooded creatures could have swallowed an elephant. So soon he found a hissing sound. What do you mean by hissing sound? Hissing sound is the sound made by the snakes. The snakes make such hissing sounds. So soon he saw, not far away from him, from a cave, enormous snakes were coming out. They found that they got the smell of a human and understood that they are having some prey. Prey means a food. Okay, so they sensing the smell of this human, they came out of the caves, enormous ones, and the smallest of the snake could even swallow an elephant. Such enormous snakes they were. See the snakes? Very huge one, very enormous snakes. It was that valley, the place where Sinbad landed was full of snakes. So what to do? Just and in the next page, in the dark, I looked for a place to hide. So Sinbad searched everywhere. Where can I hide? I found a cave too small for those giant snakes. I crawled inside and pushed a big rock in front of it. It would keep me safe, but I did not dare to close my eyes. See, he found a small area like a cave where he could sit there without huge creatures noticing. This huge snake cannot enter into the small opening of this cave like that. So he was hiding in the from the enormous snakes, and that night he spent in that cave protecting himself from the snakes. See, he put a huge stone also in front of it so that the snake will not come inside. Okay, the snakes were so enormous, so huge that they cannot come inside that small area. But he did not close his eyes, he did not sleep at that night. He couldn't sleep because he was scared. He was too terrified to to see that if any one of the small snake just come inside and bite him. He was so scared that he could not sleep. Then, when morning came, the valley was quiet. The snakes had crawled back into their holes. They were hiding from the rock which circled the valley and swooped down from time to time. So in the morning, when Sinbad looked, he understood that all the snakes, there was no sign of the snakes. They were all hiding. They all went back to some cave and they all were hiding there. From whom? From the rock. The rock was flying above that area to catch the snakes. So the snakes were hiding from the rock. So at times when if a snake was seen from distance, the rock would swoop down to see whether to catch the snake. So none of the snakes came out during the daytime. So he understood that it is safe to come out of his hiding place now. So I came out of my cave. Under my feet lay the sparkling diamonds. I kicked them out of the way. What help could these riches be to me here? Oh, would I ever get out of this valley of snakes? So, the Sinbad was very sad looking around. Even though he was in the middle of this diamonds, he didn't feel happy. It didn't make him happy. He didn't want to collect the diamonds or anything, because what is there to do with these diamonds if he is in the middle of such a danger? Okay, he didn't even understand how to escape from this valley. It was impossible to escape from this deserted place, and it was surrounded by a lot of poisonous snakes. They were all waiting for a prey. So, he was so disheartened, so sad that he kicked the diamonds out. He didn't want any of those diamonds. I sat down on a big stone to rest. Suddenly, I heard plop, that. Someone was throwing enormous pieces of raw meat from high up in the mountains. I carefully observed one of these big chunks of meat and found that some of the diamonds on the ground had stuck to it. So suddenly he was sitting there disheartened, depressed, very sad, he didn't know what to do. There was no food, nothing. He was caught up in such a bad situation. Suddenly, he sat on a big stone to take rest. He heard a sound, pop, that. One sound he heard. Someone was throwing enormous pieces of raw meat. Somebody was throwing meat, raw pieces of meat down to the valley from the mountains. High up the mountain, somebody was throwing meat pieces. I carefully observed one of these big chunks of meat and found that some of the diamonds on the ground had stick to it. So, on the meat pieces, he found some of the diamonds sticking to that meat pieces when these meat pieces are put down. Okay, now we will see what happened. I know you all are curious to know what happened to Sinbad, isn't it? Okay, please read the lesson till now, and we will see what happened to Sinbad in the next class. Okay, hope you all like the story. See you soon. Bye.